Good morning. So you can see here on his tack up that he's becoming a lot more relaxed. This is kind of the new norm for him. He's next to Primero. You can see Primero kind of just chilling after his ride. Um, no issues at all being next to other horses. And pretty content working on just some final little things with him that if I notice anything at all, if he changes his demeanor the slightest little bit, I try to take note to that and correct that. um, and you'll see under saddle that there's a lot of things that with horses that tend to um, be aggressive towards people. It's really important to get those horses to move out of your space and be aware of our presence when we're walking towards them, just as if we were another horse. So you can see fly spray. The head still comes up slightly there, but you don't see any tension in the body. There's no more tension in the body when you're brushing him, things like that, putting the saddle on, so on and so forth. As you can see, when I put the pad on him, really no change. Actually, the head came down a little bit there, which was nice, and that's what I'm looking for, is him to be more relaxed in that. But the one thing you're going to see in under saddle that I'm going to be working on with them is, see, I got a nice lick and chew there. Head came down, got more relaxed. Primero's over there going, "Hey, you look pretty chill over there." The one thing you're going to see under saddle is that it's really important for me to have a horse that, especially if you have a horse that gets heavy in the bridle at all, is to be able to back up just through my seat and through understanding to lift up through the abdominal muscles. So I'll go through that a little bit more under saddle. But as you can see here, much more relaxed. Even when I grabbed that girth, it wasn't a big deal for him. We're going to get ready to take him out in a minute here. You can just watch the rest of his tack up process, and we'll talk to you some more as soon as we get under saddle. Okay, now you can see we're under saddle. So just like with Primero, I didn't want to, since I have one spot to record with them, is that I took them around, walked them, warmed them up a bit, and then just wanted to bring them in to kind of show you what I've been working on with them. So as I was saying before, with the Mufasa, it's really important that the backup is really light. Even on the ground, a huge thing that I do for any horse that, especially horses that can be more aggressive towards people, is to get them that if I ask them to back up, they move out of my space. At first, I don't. I'm not as concerned about how they move out of my space as long as they're moving out of my space, and then we work on the muscle development and the softness through the back. But the first thing that they have to understand is that, especially horses like this, that they have to move out of my space. So the backup is a key component with any horse in any discipline on teaching them how to be softer in the bridle. What I'm asking for him to do is I asked to the back up through my seat. He resists in the hands and wants to pull forward and fight me, as you can see in this video, and I'm just holding my hands steady and he's pulling against me. And so what I do is I allow him to back up until he stops resisting against my hands and gets soft through his mouth and gets soft through his rib cage and through his abdominal muscles and softens in the back. So you'll see when I go through that, that's not me pulling on him, that's him pulling against me. Now under saddle, it's the same going forward if they want to get pulley at all going towards a jump or anything like that. So we can see here that I'm working on that with him, and I'll just keep kind of going backwards a few steps, forwards a few steps, until he gets really kind of soft. And then once he gets soft, then we move on to our next exercise. I want to reward him for that. So now I'm going to ask him just to step over to the left, step over to the right. He is really tight in that left shoulder. We talked about that in the video with the chiropractic. And so when he trots off to that left lead, you can see that he has a harder time stretching that leg out there. And chiropractically and myself believe that it was caused up in the upper shoulder area. And so we want to make sure that's stretched and working properly through his front end. So once again, just like with Primero and every horse that I get on and work with, I want to make sure that the front end can move separate from the hind end, that each limb can move individually so they can move together properly. So I'm just working on some lateral work with him right now, and just having him, you can see how he gets kind of blocked up right there. Especially off that left side. Now, prior to chiropractic, he couldn't even move. If I asked him to move inside hip and have left lateral flexion, he could not move. He would get stuck. So we're making progress with that. But these are all things that I believe that are stemming from his behavior when he gets ridden. Yes, he might be fine under saddle, cruising around and jumping from jumps, but I do notice that, or we did notice that when he started getting more work under saddle, I think that he was unhappy because he couldn't move his body the way that he needed to move it. So that's something that I think is important to look at. So we're just working on some trot work right now. I'm just looking for him to listen to my seat, come to a halt, give me some rein backs, roll across the front end, and then trot back off to the left lead here. Once again, I'm just staying in this frame. I would normally be riding him all around and out of the arena, but for video purposes, I don't have, this is what I can do right now, because I don't have a camera that can follow me all over yet. So just working through his trot, wanting him to start to bend through the rib cage, soften in the head, relax, and start to open up that shoulder. Go back to the walk and then the halt. Want to do all this through my seat, and you can see how he's starting to really lighten up and loosen up in the shoulders. That's because we do this work every day, and if you see, that was a really nice move for him, and that's a very hard move for a lot of horses, is to be able to roll across the front end and then sit back on that right inside hip and push off into the canter, which was really good for him. So I'm working on a little bit of haunches in this canter and slowing him down and then allowing him to go a little bit more forward. I really want to keep him strong and to keep him using his hind correctly and to not overload the front end. I think that he's a horse that historically, when you would ride him, he would put a lot more weight on the front end than on the hind end. And I think from a longevity and a longevity of less injuries in the future, especially since he's 13 now. I believe he's 13. That we want to make sure that we are helping him to be his best version and be able to stretch the best. So came down into the trot there, a little choppy into the trot, so I'll work on that with him and continue to work on that with him. But now I'm asking him, I like having the jumps in place where I can kind of maneuver around those jumps, see how pliable he is. If he lifts that head up at all, when I'm asking him to do something, that means that he's getting stuck, which means that he's uncomfortable in either the understanding of it or the mental understanding, or there's the physical limitation that we're working through to get him softer and to get him to use his body better. You can see in this video that the right lead canter is much easier for him than the left lead canter. And I believe it's all due to that left shoulder on him is just not pushing out as much. So you can see that I can get a much more collected canter and get those haunches in a little bit more when we're going that way. And so I work on this left side with him to kind of really get him to sit back and to use himself more correct. So I'm making the circle a little bit smaller, then I'll open it back up for him. I want him to know he's doing a good job. Then we come back down to the trot. We come back down to the walk, the halt. And then, so see how much nicer that was, see how much more fluid it was in his head when I'm asking to do that. So now I'm going to ask him just to flex laterally left and right. See how he got a little stuck there and he really leaned back. He's leaning back, but he's pushing all of his weight on his forehand. That's something that we don't want with him. So, especially trying to get him stronger. I'm going to work with it a little bit here. See how he really is like pushing forward. And that's just him understanding how to use his hind end properly. Super proud of him there. Really, really cool horse. You know, the relationship with him is one that, you know, it's important that we, you know, I've never stood up on him at all before. I just figured it might be just a good time to do it. It doesn't do anything negative to a horse at all. It just builds more trust and more bond. So I figured, why not see how he's feeling? You know, building that connection with him and it being a positive one. This is a trust exercise that shows a lot of trust towards from him towards myself. So I just want to get up there to see how he feels. Nothing on him changes. I like that he's having to trust me more. And then we get back down. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.